Niching and specialization are different. You can have a niche, and to me, a specialist means I do nothing but outside that niche. That is what I call a real specialty. I specialize in. This is the only thing I do. Hi, this is Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to bring guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go ahead and get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your coach, Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. In this episode, we are going to answer the fundamental question, to niche or not to niche. That is the question. Now, before we get into today's topic, let me say that I've got clients who have very specific niches, some general niches, and then some are what I call general practitioners. And the first thing I want to say is, one is not a faster track to being successful. It's really about what I call opportunity and then commitment. So I'll walk you through everything like that. There's a lot of talk in our industry the last several years about, you want a niche, you want a niche, you want a niche. Whenever I get an advisor coming into my world, that tends to be one of the conversations. Hey, Joe, you really think I should develop a niche? Normally, my response, and it's not a cop-out response, is, well, it kind of depends. And what I mean by that is, where do you want to start? Now, for example, one of my clients about probably almost 10 years ago now, came into one of our mastermind groups in Fort Lauderdale with a presentation. And he says, I am considering niching with interior designers, right? He happens to live in North Carolina, in the section of North Carolina where a lot of the high-end furniture is made. A couple times a year, that profession comes into his area to do trade shows and buy and to see what's kind of new. And so he did this very elaborate presentation. And first off, if you happen to know an interior designer, this is not me throwing shade on it. I totally did not recognize that number one, how many interior designers there are. But really, about 1,000 of them, I forget to like 30 or 50,000, I think, in the United States. About 1,000 of them make about 80 to 85% of the revenue of the entire industry. So what you really have or these kind of part-time, kind of pop-up type interior designers. And then you've got these interior design firms that do like hotels and commercial space and multi-million dollar mansions and stuff like that, and they command a large part of it. So his name was Brad. So when Brad was going through, first of all, I learned a lot about interior designers I did not know. And he laid out a very elaborate case for it. And then, so the feedback from the group was, sure, why not go for it? Don't quit your day job, right? In other words, we're not going to fire all of our non-designer clients. Fast forward 8-9 years later now, he is one of the, if not the preeminent go-to financial planners / advisors in the interior design space. And it took about 3 years to get there. Another case study, one of my other personal clients who was in the business for about almost 20 years, maybe 15 years. He was on an airplane to one of our mastermind meetings. I met a gentleman who ran a family-owned auto body shop. And then it started to percolate in his, hey, because he happened to know Brad, the kind of same group. And he goes, maybe I want to niche into auto body. And so I said, let's do the research, right? And what we realized is in the United States, non-franchised, so these are not like your Makos and stuff like that. Your non-franchised family auto body shops, I think there's like 23 or 33,000 in the United States with a median revenue about $3.5 million, about 30% gross margin. So Matt and I talked about it and said, sure. And so that caused me to, again, you don't get rid of your core clients. You just create this separate brand. So one of the pieces is if you're thinking about niching, you don't quit your day job. You don't abandon your clients. You don't stop taking referrals from them. You either you start shifting your brand into that niche, or in some cases, maybe you start a second brand, depending on your compliance situation. So Matt steps into the auto body space. This is probably now 5 years. And what I have found in any niche, it takes about 3 dedicated years to really validate the niche. About 36 months, 12 quarters. Most advisors are not going to willing to, because again, we operate in an instant gratification world. Most advisors will give this lip service and then not stay the course. So Matt stays the course. One client goes into 2, goes into 3. We start going to industry shows. We start networking with other industry experts. We start creating masterminds for said industry experts. We go ahead, we create content for industry websites and journals. Next thing you know, we're speaking at conferences. Next thing you know, the major vendors in the space like PPG, Glass, and Paint want to sponsor your talks. And next thing we know, we're now the preeminent expert in the auto body space in the United States. And I can go on and on and on. One of my long-term clients, Jeff Green, Houston, Texas, Green Financial Group, 15 years ago, he came to me with the idea of just doing ExxonMobil executives and engineers. He has built an empire, just oil and gas executives. On and on and on. So what's the point of what's the case study? So a couple things. I think number one, and I'm going to give you like a spectrum of possibility here, right? There are those who are highly niched and those who are general practitioners. And then there's the middle, which you kind of do a little bit of both. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong, nothing's better than the other. It's just choice, right? And the way I normally explain it is like medicine, right? You want to be a doctor, right? So you go to medical school. Then you come out of medical school, then you do your residency, and then you pick your specialty, right? Some people go into emergency medicine, some people go into thoracic, some people go into neurology, so on and so on and so forth, right? Who's right? Choice, right? It just means this is what I'm going to do. So the point I'm making is a lot of advisors really have sometimes an angst on having a niche and like, oh my God, I don't have a niche, therefore I'm failing. Like, no, I know plenty of advisors who are generalists who have created multi 7-figure businesses, okay? I'm not the one who sit there, because I don't sell niching services, so I'm not the one that's going to sit there and say to you, oh man, you have to have a niche. You don't have to. Not necessary, but if you want one, it's there for you, and that's why I frame it to everybody. And so if you're going to niche, you got to reverse engineer the niche. So here's what I mean. First question, number one, when you think about your ideal practice, your ideal life, your ideal business model, how many clients do you need to serve at what minimum revenue flow to make that happen, right? And again, there's really not an answer. If you're more of a solopreneur, lifestyle practice, you can probably, in a niche, you can probably get away with 50 or 75 clients and do 7 figures with probably 70% gross margin before tax and really, really have a great life. If you're going to be a small ensemble, it's going to be a little bit bigger, enterprise bigger, right? And we'll talk about the enterprise people in a little bit. There's a couple interesting things there. So the point being is, let's say you're a lifestyle advisor, yourself, maybe a small office, maybe you work from home, one assistant, maybe a couple part-time virtual people. You say, hey, I've got, and this way I like to do it is when I look at a new advisor that I may work with, I'll say, and they talk niching, I say, well, tell me what we got that's more than one, right? Do we have more than one business owner? Do we have more than, and inside those business owners, are there any specifics there? Anything with executives, anything with professionals, 3 or 4 or 5 lawyers? Do you have 3 or 5 doctors? Like, what do you have, right? And you want to look first internally to see what's there, right? Now, in Matt's case, auto body, he had one auto body client, right? Now we're into, I think, the dozens, right? When Brad brought the interior designer thing, he had 1 or 2 interior design clients, right? So in other words, we just didn't randomly say, hey, I think this is a good idea. I don't have any clients there. I know nothing about the industry. I know nothing about the space. I know nothing about the people in the space, but I'm going to go expert. Now, you can do that. I'm not saying, hey, don't do that, but just understand you have 0 start point. You have 0 relationships. You're on the outside looking in. Right? Really, really important. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, well, what do we have? And if you have more than 2 of anything, then that's something you want to consider, right, from that perspective. And niching, again, is a spectrum of specificity. So what I mean by that is you could say, hey, I want to do corporate executives. Great. Hey, I want to do corporate executives in this industry. Great. Hey, I want to do corporate executives in this industry, but for these 1 or 2 specific companies, like Jeff Green. Hey, I want to do corporate execs. Great. Well, what do you want to do? I want to do oil and gas. Great. What else? ExxonMobil. Right? Boom, boom, boom. Niche. And if you get down to the firm level, if you're doing corporates, you've got to know the retirement plan better than their HR retirement plan people. You've got to know the benefits package better than the HR people. You've got to know everything about their RSUs, frontwards, backwards, sideways, and other which way. Like, you've got to become the expert, right? That's what it takes. So again, it's not one size fits all and it's this versus that. It's like, think of it layers, right, from that perspective. Hi, Coach Joe Lucas here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. So if you have a situation and you say, okay, I think this is interesting. Let's get back to our reverse engineering. How many clients do you need to make your world go around? Based upon what you know about the niche, what is the average client worth to you? Next, how many are there? Next, and this is really critical. So why niche? There's a couple of advantages that I'll talk about. Number one, when you're doing marketing and content, you can speak very specifically to that niche's pain points, which gives you a competitive advantage, at least in the messaging side, versus a typical advisor is going to talk in generalities. You can talk very specifics, right? So that, to me, is a business development / marketing advantage. The other thing it does for you, as you're doing your planning work and you're doing investment work and you're doing your client relational service models, when you have kind of the same thing, the reviews kind of go very similarly, conversations are very similar, so there's a bit of an advantage there, though it could get boring. And what happens, and again, and I'll use my story real quick, when I decided, it was really decided for me, that financial advisors were going to be my place, I did everything the first 10 years. I still even do it to a certain degree to this day. First 10 years, I wanted to learn everything I could about Advisorland, right? So I joined every website, Horse's Mouth, Registered Rep, research, all those, read every trade magazine, read every book that I could possibly find, which there were not that many of, quite frankly. And I got to know Advisorland really, really well. Fast forward 31 years later, I can walk into any advisor's business and they can tell me what's wrong with it, and I can give them 3 to 5 things to fix it. Now, what they'll do with them, That's a whole different conversation. But again, when you've done, I don't know, I guess 85,000 individual coaching sessions / consultations, you kind of see a lot, right? And people will pay for expertise. So one of the other advantages you have is fee. You can charge larger fees. If you have a specialty, a niche, that you just are one of the recognized experts, you could charge more. Now, like for example, and I'm looking into my fees here, but if you look at my how advisors compensate me, first of all, say a more generalistic business coach, right? My fees are a lot higher than a generalistic business coach. Why? Because I already did the learning. I know the space. It's all I do. I live and breathe this industry, right? Now, you can go down to your local chamber of commerce and get a really good person who's a business coach that maybe has worked with an advisor here and there, an insurance person here and there. But at the end of the day, you're going to pay them to learn, right? And that's just what it is. Like most business coaches don't understand what compliance is. Like, what do you mean you can't do that? What do you mean? What are you talking about, right? They don't understand what compliance is. So there are just some things inside of that you want to look at. Now, also inside of this, you can do what I call verticals, right? So, for example, in the auto body place, right? You can go, okay, I'm going to do auto body shops. Well, I'm going to do just family-owned auto body shops, right? Or I'm going to do family-owned auto body shops where the founder is going to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. Liquidity event, right? You can do that. There's a lot of, you could work, if you're doing executive, you can say, I just want to do director level and above, right? Or executive VP and above, right? There's ways to even inside the niche, create different verticals inside of it. Like for me, I operate in probably about 4 verticals, the wirehouse vertical, the IBD vertical, the RA vertical, and then the career insurance vertical, right? From that perspective. Now, have I thought about it? Does every once in a while it cross my mind to, hey, why don't you just pick one and just do that? And hey, I just coach RAs. I've thought about that. But I've got a lot of great people in other places, and I don't want to do that. I like variety. I like having differential. It's kind of cool for me, right? And it all kind of feels the same anyway, plus or minus a little bit. So let's just say from this conversation, you decide, hey, I want a niche. And let's say I've got 1 or 2 clients in a specific, space that I feel like I got a little beachhead. So let me go now and exploit that beachhead. So one of my former clients, we've parted very amicably. We did everything we need to do for them. They're on the West Coast, out in Central California, wine country, not that far from, I think, the only nuclear power plant left in California. And they had one client from that plant, PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric. And this is probably about 10 years now. And they come to me and they said, hey, what do you think of us niching with PG&E? I said, well, okay. So I said, what do we know about PG&E? What do we know about their plan? What do we know about Triumph? What do we know about their benefits? Like we had to gingerly go to their client and be very nice and offer them some gifts, dinners and stuff like that. And we got everything we needed from the employee manual to the comp plan to the benefits packages, 222. There's 2 partners. One partner she poured her heart and soul into being expert on that. And then they just started these little micro events right outside, because you can't go in the plant, obviously. Right outside the plant, they were doing these little hosted happy hour meet and greets, and I won't bore you with all the details. Fast forward 5 years right before COVID, they went from 1 client in that plant to I think 40-something in that plant, and I think a total of 60 throughout California, right? So here's the thing. When you do a niche, the first year, it kind of sucks. You don't see a lot of momentum. You're just trying to get your name out. You're looking to create content that showcases your expertise. You're very intentional with your marketing and your business development inside that niche. And you go from 2 clients to 4 clients. You go from 4 to 8. You go from 8 to 16, 16 to 32. It's very much like that. It's very exponential. Let's say years 2, 3, 4, 5. But you got to really get through the first year and almost expect nothing to happen. So in essence, I think the reason why most advisors fail at niches is they get impatient. They don't commit. They don't take a long-term view. And they're not clear on their expertise level. So hence, they suffer a little bit from what we'll call imposter syndrome. And one of the ways we get rid of imposter syndrome is to become the expert in all things to that niche or to that firm or to whatever it is we're going to do, right? And some of you are sitting there going, well, so if I go down this road, what do I do with my regular people, right? You serve them. You ask for referrals. You can be we're a financial advisor who has a specialty in, right? It doesn't mean you have to give up your whole identity. And so niching and specialization are different. You can have a niche, and to me, a specialist means I do nothing but outside that niche. Okay, like for me, I specialize in financial advisor. I have for 30 years, right? If you're a lawyer, if you're a CPA, love you, sure, great human being, not my space, right? There are other coaches who that's their space, right? So you want to go there, right? But if you're an advisor, like I'm the guy, and I'm fine with that. That is what I call a real specialty. I specialize in. This is the only thing I do. So if you want to go down that road, then by all means, but then understand that you're going to shut off some referrals from your legacy clients, stuff like that. So I've got some clients who have done that, some who have not, and I can't tell you, it's personal choice. I'm not saying one's better than the other. I don't have the empirical evidence stating such. After all we've talked about here today, you say, you know what? I don't think I kind of like helping people. I like them, we laugh about it in my world, like, okay, hey, what's an ideal client for us? They're likable, they're coachable, they're willing to pay the fees that are appropriate, right? So they're profitable, right? And they're leverageable, which is they'll act as an advocate. If you think about it, those are the four things we want, right? Somebody we really like, right? We like, like, oh my God, so-and-so's in the calendar today. Like, God, I hope they cancel. It's not what we want, right? Look forward to seeing the person. They are grateful and appreciative and take advice. They're coachable. They pay their fees, right? They don't bitch about them, right? They understand value, right? And value creation. And they're willing to act as an advocate and refer to their friends, family, colleagues, and coworkers. I mean, if you think about it, that's kind of the core four, right? And then, if they all happen to operate in a certain way or you're certain pockets of certain niches, that's fine too. I've got a client, she's in Bermuda. She operates in expat, international tax space. That's a specialty, right? Like that's her jam. And she's probably, if not the best in the world, one of the top 2 or 3 in the world at it, right? That's building out a specialty. That's not a niche. That's a specialty. So I hope everybody, this has helped you, give you some food for thought. So for those of you who are niching right now or thinking about it, my experience is about 3 years to really kind of hit it big when, quote unquote, you've arrived. Like I was telling Matt the other day, my auto body guy, earlier this year, as a matter of fact, because he's telling me I got invited to this conference, I got to speak at this thing, I've got a pipeline, I've got to start saying no to people, I've got to raise my fees. Every time I write an article, I get emails and phone calls and all this other stuff. I said, great. So guess what, brother? I've got the big vendors want to sponsor me, and when they go speak, I said, hey, guess what, brother? You've arrived. Now, we spent 3 years doing that. The first year, totally on faith. Okay? So if you're willing to do the following, you should consider niching. Number 1, 3 years. Number 2, 1 year, don't expect anything. Number 3, pick something and be an expert in. Number 4, you can have a specialty or niche. I like niching versus specialty. You don't want to close your doors unless you're open to closing your doors on other things. The art of no. All right? And if that doesn't feel good to you or it creates scarcity, then don't do it. You don't have to. Look, I've got clients that run multi-7-figure practices, don't have a niche. They serve everybody as long as they're likable, profitable, coachable, right? Stuff like that. But if you want to have expertise, that opportunity is there. It's just like medicine. You could be a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, or you could work at a clinic in the inner cities. You're still practicing medicine, just a different version of it. Who's right? Both. Why? Because that's what they want. In advisor land, same thing. What do you want? So I hope that clarifies some things for you guys. Have a great week. Remember, MagellanNetwork.net, 30 days, come into my world and let me help you be the best version of you possible. And until next week, let's stay focused, let's stay committed, let's stay on task. I'll see you guys in 7 days. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.